What is going on, guys? It's your boy K-Cross here, back on the video today, and in today's video we're covering the Ak74u, which is a gun that I had obviously like really high hopes for, because if you watched any of the alpha gameplay, if you played the alpha actually, then you know that the gun was like really cracked. It was a great gun. I feel like probably one of the best guns in the alpha, if not the best gun in the alpha. I don't really know. I never got to play the alpha, and I never really got to see much of the MP5 being used, but the AK-74 seemed to be the most popular choice among everybody that played the alpha, and it seemed to be one of the best guns in the alpha. Obviously, because everybody was using it, that kind of is the reason why. I guess is what I'm trying to say, is everybody kind of knew that the gun was gonna get patched and that the gun was kind of up, but everybody liked it and everybody was using it. It seems like, or at least most people were. The majority of people were, that is, and for good reason. If you played Black Ops, like the OG Black Ops BO1, whenever that first came out, I think it was whenever it first came out, but it might have been a little bit later. I feel like the AK-74u then was also cracked. That gun was great. I loved the AK-74u. I love everything about it. I mean, it's just it's like an iconic gun. It's one of those guns that it brings back memories of Black Ops 1. It's just something I'm glad to see back in the game in multiplayer. We've seen it come back here and there in Black Ops 2 with zombies and whatnot, but I'm glad to see it back in the game as a primary gun. It reminds me of, like I said, Black Ops 1, and it's just a lot, that's just like the glory days, you know what I mean? The time to be alive, when it was fun to be alive. But no, seriously, it's a great gun still. I mean, ultimately the gun is still, I'm not going to say cracked, but ultimately the gun still is good. It still gets the job done. It's still an effective gun even at range. I mean, it's an AK at the end of the day, and every AK has its recoil issues and so on and so forth, but I felt like the recoil on this gun was honestly very controllable. I never really had an issue using it. I actually enjoyed using it. I played a few games with it just because I liked it so much. Ultimately, I liked the sound of it. And I like the just the aesthetic of it. I like the looks of it. I like everything about it, really. I mean, the gun does perform well. It's probably best at or I guess the best ranged weapon in the SMG category, if I had to say. I mean, it really just comes down to if you could control the recoil or not, which I feel like that's pretty much the thing with AKs in every Call of Duty game, is the gun's going to be good if you can control the recoil. If you can't control the recoil, though, then it's not going to be good. It's just really a matter if you can use it, if it's effective in your hands. I mean, ultimately that's every gun. If it's not effective in your hands, it's not going to be good. But I felt like this was a lot easier to be effective in my hands, considering that I'm not the greatest player in the world. I'm not even a pro level player. I'm just like an average dude who plays Call of Duty a lot. So I could control the gun, you could probably control the gun too, and the gun is good if you could control it, which is, like I said, not that terrible. I mean, it's definitely easier to control than I expected. I expect the AK-47 to be easier to control than the 74u, just because of the models that they're based off of it. I mean, it's based off of an SMG. Usually they try to give the SMGs more kick, so that way they're not as effective at range, damage-wise or handling-wise. And I felt like the handling was better than I expected. I even felt like the handling was better than the AK-47, to be honest with you. And that's that's always going to be subject to change. Do I think this gun's always going to be great? No. Do I think this gun is going to probably get patched one day? Yeah. But, for right now, it's not bad. And ultimately, I think, it's pretty comfortable where it's at right now, because I didn't see a ton of people using the gun in the beta either, though. I felt like they kind of fixed it, but they didn't really say anything about it. I feel like it's not terrible. It's still a really good gun. I just feel like it's not, as cracked as it was in the alpha. I feel like it's still a completely good gun. I would use it 100%. I actually would prefer to use it. It was probably my favorite red gun to use, besides the Milano or the, I guess, the XM4 was alright. But besides that, yeah, I feel like, besides the snipers, it was probably my favorite gun to use. It's just a fun gun to run with. It's so easy to control. It's such a user-friendly gun, in my opinion. I think, for an AK, they really made it user-friendly. Like, usually, like I said a million times now, it's got to have, like, high recoil and unpredictability, and it's going to be a little slow, but it's going to have good damage. And I felt like this was, pretty good. Like, it's fast. I feel like the recoil is easy to control. You put a few attachments on it here and there for recoil, and you have the gun down pat. I mean, I can see where it will lack. I think it'll lack, in super close range situations. I think, your hip fire and ability will be tough with it, because if you have the hip fire on it, I just killed myself, but if you have the hip fire attachments on it, then it's taken away from the recoil attachments, which then it becomes a little bit harder to handle, and so on and so forth. But ultimately, all around, I think it's a good gun. I think it's probably, like I said, like the most effective range SMG if you have the right attachments on it, and if you're patient with the gun, if you're patient in learning its recoil pattern and figuring out its unique abilities, right? I feel like, though, all together, it's pretty effective at all ranges. I mean, obviously not like super long range. You're not going to be picking people off at 50 to 60. I don't know, probably 70 plus meters is going to be a tough shot. But like 40 meters, I think you still got the upper hand, right? However, I feel like if you're going like head to head with the Milano, I feel like it probably still has the upper hand on you. And if you run into a shotgun, I mean, unless you have a shotgun, you're screwed anyway. But you definitely aren't gonna win the gunfight, right? If it's under 10 meters, super close, then it's gonna be hard to win. But it's another thing with this gun is very reactive to headshots and where you place your shots. Because if you place good shots, this gun is like really good. But if you're kind of lousy and you I don't want to say lousy, but if you're kind of, not as good with maybe a controller per se, or your aim isn't necessarily incredible, then it is a gun that, you're going to have to get adapted to. You're going to have to start, aiming for the right areas and aiming for good targets, because, if you get a headshot with this gun, it's really critical. It does a ton of damage, and it's very effective. But, if you're shooting someone in the leg and you're in close range, then you're probably going to be, you're probably not going to have the upper hand if they're using an SMG. And I think this gun, overall, it was a lot of fun to use. So I'm not going to complain about it. I think, it was hard to find a lot of negatives to assess with the gun, but I think it will definitely show its negatives more whenever the full game comes out. I'm sure of that. And I'm sure it showed a lot of negatives in like the really long range maps, like satellite and stuff. I'm sure you could see some things here and there that definitely weren't as good on it as they could have been. But it is what it is. The gun is still probably, I don't know, it's hard to say. It's one of my favorite guns, regular guns wise. But it definitely, I felt kind of guilty using it, I guess is the way of putting it. I felt like I still had the upper hand on everybody, and I felt like I wasn't really challenging myself with the gun. So I did feel kind of bad about it. However, it was still fun to just destroy people, because, I mean, it's video games at the end of the day. That's what you're supposed to do. However, the gun is, like I said, the gun's just a lot of fun. I like it a lot. There's really not much to say about it, honestly. I'm just repeating myself at this point, because like that's pretty much it. It's just a simple gun. It's easy to use. I feel like most people probably could pick it up in a day and have it mastered almost, and it's just a pretty versatile weapon. I feel like it has a lot of abilities. However, I was a little disappointed. I think God, I can't remember. I think I was a little disappointed in some of the options with the barrels on it. I think I was a little disappointed with some of the attachments on it. I felt like there was not really much to balance. I feel like it's versatile, but there is definitely not the attachments for range that there is for other weapons. And that's all really I had to say about it. If you enjoyed, I guess leave a like on the video. I don't usually ask for likes, but that's all I have to say. Peace out, guys.